Hello folks and welcome to F1 Live, your post-race show coming to you live and direct from Portimao here in the Algarve at the end of the Portuguese Grand Prix 2021. Will Buxton with you as always, and I'm delighted to be joined by Danny Kvyat. Danny, it's a bit windy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Hi everybody, hi Will, and yeah, let's talk a bit about the race today.
Absolutely, great Grand Prix today. Of course, Lewis Hamilton taking the victory from Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. A pretty exciting race out there and some great moves.
Yes, it was. It kept me on my toes for pretty much the whole race, to be honest. Very interesting, and especially in the beginning when Lewis had to, make those moves. It was quite impressive and interesting racing. Really, lots of things to talk about.
Absolutely, going all the way down to the checkered flag in the last lap and the race for that fastest lap point at the end. But let's take a look at the results at the end of the Portuguese Grand Prix, which, as we've said, has seen Lewis Hamilton take the race victory once again in Formula One. He leads Max Verstappen over the line in the Red Bull, who thought he'd got the fastest lap, but that instead goes to Valtteri Bottas. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Valtteri finishing third despite starting on pole position, with Sergio Perez in fourth. Lando Norris then fifth. Charles Leclerc a brilliant sixth ahead of Ocon and Alonso. Fantastic for Alpine in seventh and eighth, and I'm not just saying that because Danny is standing next to me. Daniel Ricciardo a brilliant ninth, having started down in 16th. Then Gasly in 10th for the final point of the day. Behind them, then in 11th place, a disappointed Carlos Sainz for Ferrari ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi, who you will hear from in a few moments' time. Sebastian Vettel, P13, Lance Stroll, P14, then Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell, an excellent drive from Mick Schumacher to P17, then Latifi, Mazepin and Kimi Raikkonen, who managed to drive into the back of his teammate because he was concentrating on his steering wheel. We said we'd hear from Antonio Giovinazzi. He stands right here. Antonio, P12 today. It's where you started, but it looked like the race was coming to you at points. How was it out there?
It was a really clear race, to be honest. We did a good first lap, then happened what happened with Kimi. But luckily we had no puncher. I was just worried about this. But then, yeah, I think it was a good fight with Fernando in the beginning of the race, and then good fight with Sebastian in the end. But still, I think our car is not really, on the going to inside the top 10. We're still a little bit far away. Sometimes to Aston Martin, sometimes to Alfa Tauri. And yeah, I think the max we could do today.
Is that it then? Have you got to hope for something to happen to a McLaren and a Ferrari in order to allow you into that top 10?
Yeah, I think so far we need to, waiting for something happening in the front, and then we have the possibility to go inside top 10. So if nothing happens in the front, it's still difficult. It
does feel, from the outside looking in, more of a Sunday car than a Saturday car. Is that fair?
Not really. I think, if we see yesterday we ended P12, we finished P12, so we are there. So I think we need to just find the last things to be in front of sometime Alpine or Aston Martin, but we're still not there.
Great stuff. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate it. Now, we were talking, of course, about the... I tell you what, we were going to talk about the race itself. We're going to talk with Charles. Hello, you can't come here anymore. It's not like the old days. Charles, a great drive from you today. Finished P6. I know you were disappointed after qualifying. Does this make up for the disappointment?
No. No, because if we finish P6 today, it's also my fault for not having done a good enough job yesterday. So I did a good job today overall, and happy with my driving, a lot happier than I've been all weekend. But yeah, starting from 8th, it was difficult to do much better today. Overall, we've been struggling a lot with the medium, myself, but also Carlos on the medium. So we really need to understand what happened there and try to improve from there.
Is that track specific, or is that something you've been struggling with throughout the year?
Well, it's the first time we are driving with those mediums, which are the C2, so I think. Yeah, we need to work on that. I think it's more track specific. We just need to work on this.
On a weekend where McLaren had struggled, where your immediate competitors had struggled, is this one where you needed to maximize the points today?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we've done quite a good job on my side. Then Carlos again struggled on the second stint, but I believe we just need to sort out this for both of the cars to make a step forward. So yeah, not a great weekend for us.
Thanks very much for coming on. Thanks, Charles. Well, shall we get back to the start of the race, to what happened up at the front? Of course, Valtteri Bottas it was who was on pole position. He comes home today third, Lewis Hamilton with the win. Was this always going to be a Mercedes day, or do you think that Red Bull, with what they'd shown us up until that final part of qualifying, might have had an edge?
Yeah, I think it's obviously very tight at the top between Red Bull and Mercedes. It's great to see, because that's something that we've been waiting for a long time, to see competition and Mercedes being pushed so hard. It almost seems sometimes that Red Bull can be quicker than them, and in qualifying yesterday it seemed like it was true. And then of course there are track limits on this track that are tricky, which shown today and yesterday both times. So it's not easy, but it pans out like a very interesting season, because it seems like they're going to push each other until the end.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk more a little bit later with Sam Collins back at base about exactly how the permutations of the top three played out. We did have a safety car early on, as we've said, with Antonio there, Kimi Raikkonen driving into the back of his teammate. It was the only retirement that we saw in the race today. Was that a surprise, given how difficult the conditions out there and how much we saw people struggling with the wind?
Yes, I mean, first of all, cars becoming more and more reliable, through the years. So it's great to see we didn't have any technical issues at all today, and only one retirement. Yes, due to, I guess, a distraction from the steering wheel from Kimi. Otherwise, probably we wouldn't have seen any retirements today. So it's becoming interesting.
It really was. And we talk about interesting today. P7 and P8. Your teammate Esteban Ocon coming home in a P7. Esteban, it was a great drive and a brilliant result for the team. I know the season's been a struggle, difficult for you guys up to this point, but what a strong weekend you've had.
Yeah, we are very pleased with how the weekend, build on was. I think we've improved massively the performance of the car, especially from Friday to Saturday. But also we understood a lot about the package that we had and the upgrades that we bring in Imola. And I'm pretty sure there's still more left, that we can extract. Obviously, we will, practice well on Tuesday in the factory and see what we can do. But getting into Barcelona, we have great hopes, and we hope to keep performing the same.
No, well done, man. I watched the whole race. Great driving, and very controlled, very mature. And seems like from last year you found even more performance in yourself, and you managed to extract now in every session everything out of the car. So did you do some particular work with yourself, with the engineers this winter, or it just came together?
Yeah, it's a good point, Daniel, for sure. I think there's been a lot of work on the background this winter. I'm having a different team around me as well, and we are working on really well at the moment, and I feel totally different, more confident, and I can lean on the car, and the team knows what I need from it. And it's it feels great, to be fair, to be building on weekends like this, and I can't wait to keep going.
And on a weekend like this, is this where you have to sort of really make the most of the opportunities, knowing how tight the midfield is, the ebb and the flow from track to track, that you and Fernando were able to come back as sister cars next to one another? Is that the best you could have hoped for?
I think so. I think we maximized the result today. Obviously, we were on two different strategies. Fernando coming from outside the top 10 and me inside the top 10. But 7 and 8 is very strong as a point result for the team. I think they were a little bit too fast for us, still the Ferrari and the McLaren, but it's not the last race. We will fight them, give them a good fight for the rest of the season.
Great stuff, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, Esteban. A great drive from Esteban today. And we carry on the discussion of a great drive. Lando coming home in a P5. A really exciting race for you today. Some great moves. I want to pick out in particular your move on lap 1 with Esteban, who's just left. That move around the outside through the last couple of corners. We were all just loving that move. It was a joy to watch. How much was the race an enjoyable one for you?
I mean, it was a mixture. The first half was obviously tough, but a lot of racing, a lot of wheel-to-wheel action, especially with my move past Esteban, because I got him in the first quarter of the lap. He got me back, and then at that point, it's very important in that stage of the race to gain track position. So I took a bit of a risk, but just put my car where it needed to be, and I managed to get ahead of him again. So an important part of the race for us, but a lot of battling, like you said, especially with the pit stops with Carlos and so on, and then a very long stint on the mediums with a fast Ferrari behind me. So was very difficult, but it's enjoyable and a lot of fun.
And I guess quite a good day overall, having Alpine scoring points, having Carlos dropping off at the end. In terms of your battle, in terms of where you're at in the Constructors' Championship, a really positive day for McLaren.
For sure, especially from my side, I was happy, and it was good to see Daniel back up there in the points. He's been fast all weekend. Probably made my life a little bit more difficult today, not having the strategic advantage of having 2 cars, but he's getting there, and it was nice to get some more points from his side too. So I'm sure in the coming races we'll have 2 cars up there battling for some big points. But like you said, good weekend for us, as good as we could do today, so we keep it going.
Now we're off to Barcelona, a track we normally know so well, having spent the winter testing there. We didn't test there this winter, but is it a track you think is going to suit the car?
I got no idea. I'm a bit clueless nowadays when it comes to knowing if it's going to be good or not. I think so far the first 3 weekends it's been so close always in qualifying, then in the race it kind of separates out and you see a bit more of what everyone's like, and today we did a very good job and the car was quick. So it's going to be close in qualifying. I don't know, that's all I can say. It's going to be close. But yeah, like those top few cars are still a little bit too far ahead for us, but we'll do the best job we can to try and attack them.
Great job. Thanks so much, Lando. Young guy, who we all know well in this sport. You spoke about Esteban maturing over the winter. How much do you feel he's matured both in and out of the car over the winter as well?
Yes, also him. But to be honest, already last year he seemed very in control. He's really calm and brought this solid base to McLaren. Improved already in his rookie year. Even he looked a bit up and down. It's normal for a rookie in 2019. But then already last year he was extremely solid. This year even more. Also compared to Daniel, now he seems to be doing really well, and it can he can only get better. But now the progress will be slower and slower because he's really getting in a stronger shape.
Now, one of my drivers of the day has turned up here, Mick Schumacher. I've got to say, I know the weekend when we got into qualifying wasn't quite where you wanted to be. You drove beautifully today. The sort of the cherry on the top at the end, the pass on the Williams. How much did you enjoy the race?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously, unfortunately, didn't get by him earlier. I think we had quite a lot of pace in us. But lots learned and lots of fun.
I mean, the Williams is a car last weekend that was fighting for the points. No one's expecting Haas to be able to do that this season, given the difficulties we know the car is going to have. But here you are fighting with a car that can score points, and in only your 3rd Grand Prix as well.
Yeah, it was good fun. It shows that the work that we do pays off. Now we need to keep on working, keep on improving, and hopefully by some time we'll be able to fight with George.
And we were talking about this earlier in the weekend. You said every hour you spend in the car, every lap that you do, the confidence is growing, it's building in you. How does that feel then going to Spain, a circuit that everybody knows so well? We've all spent so many years there, driving in Formula 2 and Formula 3. Yeah, a circuit that a circuit that you will be confident on in a car that you've just shown today. You can battle with the other cars.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Barcelona is always interesting because it can be anything from rear deg to front deg. It's something where we'll have to see when we arrive there, but I'm quite happy, and let's see, it looks promising.
Really great drive today, man.
Thank you.
Really impressive. Well done. Great drive, I thought, today from Mick. Thanks for coming on the show, dude. Thank you so much. Now, David Alorca is somewhere in the paddock, I believe. David, at the end of what's been a thrilling Portuguese Grand Prix weekend, my buddy, where are you?
Listen, I'm out here, live and direct, posted just outside of Red Bull Racing's motorhome. Listen, you can smell the essence of disappointment in the air. They started this season with the car that was absolutely fast, incredibly fast out here, and it looks like Mercedes have pulled it back out of nowhere. Us, the fans, everyone at home is wondering, is this a sign of the rest of the season, or is it just the track? We saw Christian Horner just pop just a second ago, and we saw as the race went on, them going for the consolation that they could grab what they could at the end of the race there, which was the fastest lap, which they did manage to do, which shows they do have pace here. But obviously they're going to be slightly disappointed by not being able to capture the win here. Toto Wolff earlier on, smile underneath the mask. You could see it in his eyes, gleaming and absolutely beaming. This is going to go a long, long way, Will, and we are absolutely salivating at it. Will, back to you.
Thanks so much, my friend. Now we've got another racing driver on the show, Pierre Gasly, after a great drive today. But Danny Kvyat has decided after, 15 minutes as a TV presenter, he wants to do the entire interview. So I'm going to leave it to you, my friend. You go for it.
My old teammate, you know. Hello, mate.
Hey.
Looked like a solid day in the office. Well done.
Yeah, it was okay. I must say I prefer you with that outfit than that Leclerc Sportif you've got. But
Can't be forever.
no, I must say yeah, it was pretty hard day for us today. The race was very hard. We knew it's a track where we struggled. Yesterday was difficult. We make it to the top 10, and today we just made it. Just in the last lap I managed to pass Carlos, but I must say it was difficult one, and we've got a bit of work to do to understand what to do better on such a track. Yeah.
That's it? That's all you have to say? I mean, normally you talk more, but okay. But what do you expect Barcelona and next tracks gonna suit better the car? Because this track, we know it's quite particular.
Yeah.
But do you guys bring some updates also, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, we've got a couple of updates coming. Here is very particular because a lot of low-speed corners, which we don't seem to like so much this season compared to other cars. So I think Barcelona is a lot more high-speed, medium-speed corner, which actually your team don't like so much. So hopefully we can take the fight back, and I think now we need to understand because Monaco will have similar corner speed, Baku will have similar corner speed than here, and clearly we seem to lack pace. So we'll work for these tracks, but Barcelona should be better.
Okay, man. Thank you so much. This is exciting.
If you can tell me what your team does in the straight line, because they are like the drag cars or like dragsters in the straight. So
you know, they were competitive today. So we will talk later. You know, maybe I don't know.
You tell me how much you need, and then we'll sort that out.
Okay, interesting. It never happened. Cut it off. You have some questions for this guy?
No, you've done the perfect job. You've done the perfect job. Well done, man. Great job. Is it all those years of us asking you inane questions after the race that prepared you for today?
Yeah, I actually found out a lot of info about what they think about the car and so on. And you see how much analyzing is going on actually. Medium speed, high speed corners, very important, you know, the art of interviewing.
Fascinating stuff, man. And if we may say, earlier in the weekend, obviously Pierre asking what's changed for Alpine this weekend. I asked you what's changed for Alpine this weekend. You said they were going faster because it's the first race that you're on site. You're the magic touch this weekend.
Yes, I brought some horsepower in my backpack. No, jokes apart, I think first three tracks were very different between them. If we look at Bahrain, Imola, and here, they're all quite different. And like Pierre said, it's very low-speed track, and it seemed to click. You know, since FP1, very competitive. When it happens, you just go on with that.
Absolutely. Sam Collins, back at base. I will get the right camera one of these days. Sam Collins is back at base, and Sam, it was a great fight today for the top three positions. I know you want to run us through right from the very start all the way through how those positions were set.
I absolutely do, but before I do that, I'm just going to say that was absolutely fascinating listening to the interview from Daniel Kvyat to Pierre Gasly and finding out the difference between the AlphaTauri and the Alpine chassis. Sounds like the Alpine's either got a bit of grunt from that very low revving Renault engine, or it's a very low drag car, which the bodywork doesn't look like it is. So that Renault engine might be a bit special, and we'll have to take a look at that later in the season. But first of all, I'd like to take a look at this, the race start coming up. So you see the chap with the green flag. He didn't actually get off the track before the race got underway. So keen they were ready to get going, but keep an eye on the Red Bulls and the Mercedes here, because that's really what the battle's all about. The two Mercedes got away well to start off with, but the battle already started. Sergio Perez had dropped back, but Max Verstappen right there at the front of the pack trying to get into the fight, and that's how basically the start of the race really got underway. But when you actually move on a little bit, after a Finnish driver got a little bit distracted by some magic buttons on his steering wheel and bumped into an Italian driver in a very similar car, we ended up with a slightly different situation after the safety car got going. Now, I had visions of Valtteri Bottas. The last time I remember him doing a safety car restart was at Mugello last year. He really backed up the field, and that caused a bit of carnage on the restart. Well, once again, Bottas backed up the field big time here at the start-finish line at Portimao. The Mercedes gets away, and what he really does is create a brilliant opportunity for Max Verstappen to get past his teammate Lewis Hamilton and up into second position. That looked like he'd really dropped a bit of a clanger there, because Max Verstappen was clearly in the fastest car at that point of the race. The Red Bull getting its sort of pace up, but then Verstappen started getting the pace up going quite nicely, and he came hunting down Valtteri Bottas. And watch Bottas's rear end. He loses it just slightly coming out of this corner, kicks out the rear. Verstappen's going to sweep by, gets the pace, well, we'll get the pace in a minute once he's got a bit of the toe, and gets by. This looked brilliant for Red Bull Racing at this point in the race, but it wasn't going to end up like that because the race evolved and we just saw some different strategies playing out. Red Bull's strategy going onto the hard tyre looked like a bit of a mistake for me later in the race, but actually it worked out quite well for them, because what you saw is coming into the pit lane, Hamilton comes in, and this is, well, we've got Hamilton coming in here for the hard tyre, and that's the moment, really, the race disappeared away from Red Bull, because Verstappen was able to make was able to get the tyres working, but Hamilton had the pace as well, and that is really something that really sort of made the difference for the team. Now, I just wanted to take a look at the next, just something else, just to throw us back into the start of the race at Imola. I expected something a bit more like this at the start of this Grand Prix. Now, this is going back a couple of weeks, but keep an eye on the Red Bulls beating up on the Mercedes. This is why qualifying is so important. And look, they absolutely mugged him off the start. This is what Hamilton wanted to avoid, and he gets a bit of damage, and that really ruined the race for Hamilton, we thought, at the start of the Imola Grand Prix. And that is what I was worried was going to happen. It didn't happen, and that's why things were a little bit different in the race. But the big battle that I know Will is super keen to talk about is this one. This is the battle between Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton going round the outside of Bottas, going slightly off track, but we've been told that's allowed. He's allowed to do that. And this is the moment that really defined the race. Hamilton got away from Bottas, and again, it looked like Bottas just lost a bit of heart. His head dropped, and he even had to get a hurry up from Toto Wolff. Was that the real difference? Bottas really is under pressure now, starting from pole and not really delivering the result he wanted.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, mate? Fascinating stuff. Thank you, Sam. Danny, those moves, as we saw, the start in Imola, when Lewis and Max went side by side, Max sticking his elbows out, that was a clear sign of intent from Max that he wasn't going to be bullied this year by Lewis. It was a show of force. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's important to make sure that you kind of, fight hard your direct rival in the championship. Plus, it was a bit for free, because when you find your car, another car on the outside in such a tight corner, it just comes for free. You just let the car go a little bit more on the outside. So I didn't expect Lewis to fall for that. But anyway, these things happen, and amazing that the car didn't break on those bumps.
Well, absolutely. There was a tiny little break on it, not massively, but could have been a lot worse. But then obviously this weekend, maybe the reverse of that, when Lewis made that move on Max for the lead here, is that a little bit of payback, a little bit of, well, you nudged me at Imola, I'm just going to make life a little bit difficult for you. If you want us to come together, you can, but I'm going to put my car exactly where I need to edge you off.
Yes, absolutely. I think he also showed this weekend that he's not messing around, and yeah, that move on the inside looked impressive. A lot of confidence in that move I saw. It's good. It's going to be interesting. It makes it more and more interesting between them, yes.
Now, with Lewis's move on Valtteri, that move between the teammates, do we think Valtteri could have done much more to have stopped Lewis at that point? Was it an easy pass? Was it too easy a pass?
No, not really. If you look at it, I think carefully, you will see that it was very on the limit. They were really, left just enough room. Valtteri and Lewis also left just enough room I think if Valtteri just wanted to risk more, there could have been a crash between them, and that's not what you want between the teammates.
No, not at all. Great race then today. Great drive from all three of them. Little bit of elbows out from Lewis on Max, and a great pass from Lewis on Valtteri. Now, David Lorca is over at your team up at Alpine. We've spoken to Esteban Ocon already today. Double points for the team and a great result at the end of the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Absolutely, a really great result here today for Alpine. Literally just seen Mr. Fernando Alonso walking up there with a nice cup of coffee in his hands. But listen, you guys are over there talking about the race. What I want to talk to you guys about is the absolute logistical beauty that is Formula One. Right behind me, people are packing up, and the way in which it's being packed up right now, we've got a double header this weekend, back-to-back weekends, and you'd think these lot will be running around like crazy, but there is so much meticulous action. Everybody knows exactly what needs to be done to the T. Over here, we've got suitcases over here that's popping up over here. Dry ice is going on behind me. Tires are being packed up. It's absolutely incredible because next week, these guys, well, not even next week, from today, these guys are driving 1,200 miles down to Catalonia for next weekend's Grand Prix, a race that we absolutely cannot wait for. It's all happening over here behind back of garages. Will, over to you.
It's funny, you know, all these years of doing Formula One, and sometimes you forget the massive effort that goes into actually packing all of this up, shipping it off to another country in just a couple of days' time. You ever jumped in the truck with the boys, driving from race to race?
Not in Formula One, but in karting, in Formula Renault, it happened a lot, to be honest. It's normal, yes, it was normal. I traveled a lot with mechanics, with team boss and so on, and yeah, it was my life, you know, since I'm 9 years old. Then in F1 is a bit different. You need to travel as fast as you can from place to place, so you obviously take a plane, you know, it's have to minimize the time, but I see all the time the guys, you know, how much effort there is, and at the end of the hard weekend, then packing everything so that the circus can go to the next event.
And you spent such a long time as part of the Red Bull family, that monstrous Red Bull motorhome that we all know from years gone by, to pack that down, ship it off to another circuit, and a week later, or 3-4 days later, you turn up and there it is, built at another place. Absolutely astonishing. Sam Collins, now we're talking about Red Bull. Max Verstappen crossed the line at the end of the Grand Prix thinking not only did he have second place in his pocket, but also the point for fastest lap. However, when Paul di Resta told him he didn't have it, he was not a happy bunny. It was an amazing final few laps, an absolute blast to see who was going to get that fastest lap point, and in the end, went to Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, a few seasons ago, Formula One introduced a new regulation that if you're in the top 10, you can, and you set the fastest lap of the race, you get an extra point. Now, it was always wondered, would you ever end up in a situation, and it's never happened before, where everybody essentially dives to the pits and comes and goes for that fastest lap point? It never really happened because normally you need quite a chunky gap to the car behind you. Here at Portimao, it's about 27 seconds in the gap, so you need to do that. But all you're seeing is the cars diving in one by one. Sergio Perez was the first to go, but then the Mercedes saw the opportunity and Valtteri Bottas came in, stuck on a new set of soft tyres, went out and tried to get a hot lap in. And then after Bottas did it, well, Max Verstappen saw it and reacted. He went out and tried to go for the fastest lap as well. And as we heard, for the second time this weekend, it worked out quite nicely for him. He went all out to try and get that fastest lap, and the result was, sure enough, as you saw on the race broadcast, look at the little purple clock next to Bottas's name. He crosses the line, end of the race, fastest lap, job done, extra point, gamble paid off, because if the pit stop goes wrong, you can lose places and time. However, somewhere out on the lap, he breached those track limits. I suspect it was probably at turn 1 or turn 4. The lap was gone and the point was gone with it, and it went back to Valtteri Bottas, who apparently had some sort of engine problem, but that didn't stop the car going very, very quickly. And it was turn 14, I've just been told, that's where the track limits violation was. So that's not one of the automatic sensors. That was an observation from a human who said, well, Max Verstappen, you've gone a little bit outside of what's acceptable. That lap's gone, and with it the point. And that's a real shame, but really great to see Formula One having this little mini qualifying session at the end of the race, and all of the teams rolling the dice for that 27-second gap. Lewis Hamilton, he considered it and just said, nah.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating. Danny, we were just talking about that. Sam said it was like a little mini qualifying session, trying to get that fastest lap point at the end. Something you touched on earlier. Max running wide in qualifying ultimately cost him pole position and potentially the race win today because, as you said, he had the fastest car. He lost a point at the end of the race by running wide as well for that fastest lap. How much might those little moments, those 2 little moments of running wide in a season as long as this, ultimately have an effect on the championship? Lost out on the pole that could have given him a win, lost out on a point for fastest lap.
Yeah, it could be, costly, as we know in the Formula One, like 2012. You remember there was a talk of how many points could make a difference at the end of the year. And also this year it seems like those small little things that you think they're very little, but they can make a big difference at the end of the year. Yeah, who knows?
Absolutely. Well, that's very early in the season as yet to really know quite how much of an effect that will make on the World Championship. But we've seen in so many times championships decided by a single point, a couple of points. Every point we know is all important. So too, though, in that battle in the mid-grid as well. Who do you think will come out of this weekend feeling the happiest? Will it be Ferrari that perhaps McLaren didn't pull so much back on them, or will they be disappointed they only got 1 car in the points? Will McLaren be happy that Ferrari didn't maybe maximise their weekend? Or actually, will it be Alpine on the basis of the first 2 races that you've come here, you've taken that step forward, and you've got both cars home in the points?
Yeah, I mean, let's go step by step here. I think McLaren been showing solid pace so far. They look very competitive all the time, every kind of track so far. Seems Ferrari as well made a big step compared to last year. It's a very narrow battle, but I think for Alpine also was very important to have this weekend like we had, to bring the morale a little bit up in the team. Now the motivation is very high. They understand car better and better, and yeah, I really hope they can join this party for between McLaren and Ferrari very soon.
It's surprising as well, we've not even really spoken about them today. Aston Martin don't appear to be featuring as much as they certainly would have wanted. I know at the start of the season, Lawrence Stroll was talking about the team finishing 3rd this season, but it's really not coming good for them. Lance Stroll had the upgrade package on his car this weekend, didn't even make it out of Q1. Sebastian Vettel managed to make it into the top 10, but again, both cars struggled on race pace today.
Yes, it's very noticeable how much of a big step backwards they took this year. Last year, at some point, I remember I was looking at the race trace, and they were looking like a top team. They were flying like in Bahrain or something like that. And this year, just doesn't look great. I don't know what exactly happened. Is there a new regulations or something else? Probably best to ask the people on the top management of the team, but yeah, it looks clear that the team is struggling at the moment there.
Yeah, they really are. Right, how about we hear from our top 3 drivers today? We are going to hear from Zach Brown in a little bit, but he's just in a little bit of a, I don't know if Heath can show you just through the middle there. Zach's in a bit of a conflab with Toto Wolff down in the middle there, and when Toto starts chatting, that could last for hours, to be honest. So we'll hear from the top 3. Let's hear from Valtteri Bottas first of all. Started on pole, came home 3rd, but he's got the fastest lap point as well.
Hi Valtteri, you worked really hard out there today, but it just seemed like you lacked a little bit of pace.
I think, yeah, that's right. On the medium tire, in the first stint, quite quickly I saw that I just don't have the pace. I was trying everything I could, but Lewis and Max were right there all the time, and yeah, it was just like a matter of time that Lewis would get me, and I couldn't really respond on the pace with the mediums. But when I went to the hard, obviously lost the place with quite a poor warm-up with the tire. But then after, once I got heat in the tire, the hard tire was pretty good and the pace was there. But had an issue with some sensor of the engine, so I lost some power. So that's why I couldn't really fight anymore for P2.
And to Max Verstappen now, who of course had the lead of the race, had also the fastest lap for a very short while, had to make do though with 2nd place on the road today.
Yeah, fast lap, but then it got taken away again, so I think it's what it is. Yeah, these stupid track limits, but yeah, I think overall we just lacked a little bit of pace compared to them in the race. We knew last year already we were not that particularly strong here. I think this weekend has been a little bit better, but still not good enough. I tried everything I could. I mean, I had a good restart, and I got past Lewis, but then clearly I could just not get an attack Valtteri, and clearly Lewis, once he passed me, just saw, yeah, you could see he had more pace. So I just tried to stay close, but ultimately I think second was the best result we could get today.
And taking his second victory of 2021, your World Championship leader, Lewis Hamilton.
Hey Lewis, congratulations. Boy, did you have to work for that today, eh?
Yeah, I love it. I wouldn't want it any other way.
How did the car feel out there? Did you always feel today the win was there for the taking if you get everything right?
Obviously, I had that difficult so start, and then I felt like, yeah, I mean, I felt like I was quick behind Valtteri, and was waiting for him to pick the pace up, but it's feeling quite strong, and I thought that at that point in early parts of the race that I had the pace to potentially get by. But then safety car, then I lost out to Max at the restart, which was a mistake from my side. But I don't feel bad about it, naturally, because I fixed it. But then overcoming obstacles and overtaking these two guys, it's a good feeling.
This is such a fight that's brewing between you guys and Red Bull. You must be so excited by the prospects for this year.
Loving it, absolutely loving the challenge and the precision and the accuracy that is needed. Every moment that we're in the car, I love it. This is what I was made for. So it's what I've been practicing for my whole life. So it's all good.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Lewis.
So that is your top three, and we have been joined by Zach Brown. Zach, what did Toto want?
We were just, I guess I can't say shooting the beep. So we were just catching
shooting
up.
the breeze.
We were shooting the breeze. That's
fine.
exactly what we were doing.
Lovely stuff.
So no, we were just catching up, chatting about the race. Strong race for us.
Yes, very much so.
Lando drove great. Daniel came through the field. That was kind of, we'd hoped for maybe 5th and 8th. I think anytime the Red Bulls and the Mercedes finish, it's going to be hard for us to be anything other than P5, so it's a little bit of a victory for us.
Well, I would say quite a big victory for you guys, considering the fact that qualifying hadn't gone the way you wanted. Ferrari had both cars in the top 10 and were looking strong. The AlphaTauris are always in the mix as well, and Alpine had a hell of a weekend. This could be seen as damage limitation, and yet you've come out the strongest of those midfield.
Yeah, no, that you're exactly right. I mean, Alpine was very quick all weekend. So was Ferrari. We obviously had one car towards the back. So I was hoping we'd get a result like this, but thought we could come away losing some ground. Turns out we've made up some points on everyone. So a great day. Credit to the team.
Lando is driving sensationally. That much is self-evident. Daniel, we were speaking yesterday, and he said he has to be so present in the car, so conscious. He's not yet driving, with the unconscious part of his brain. He's having to think about every single thing that he does. Is there any way that can be made easier, or does that just come with time?
I think it's just time. We need to remember testing was cut in half this year. We had to put a new power unit in, so our kind of first day of testing was not get the driver up to speed, but let's make sure the power unit's integrated. So, now he's got a couple races under his belt, good long run today. So I think, Daniel will know, kind of once you just get settled into the car and you stop thinking about it, it'll just come. So I think today was a good race for him.
We know you've got to run. So first, can I just say congratulations on the class win at Spa.
Thank you.
For United Autosports, sensational job there. And also Patricio, obviously on the podium at Texas last night in IndyCar. Now 4th in the championship. So he starts 4th for this afternoon's race. And you've said that if he wins a race this season, he gets a test in the F1 car. Is that just for fun? Or are you seriously lining up Patricio
our driver
potentially
lineup's set for a while,
but for the future.
Given his age and his talent, certainly it's more than just fun. And I feel bad. Felix was running P2, and we had to let him down in the pits, so he ended up finishing P13. But he was on for a podium. So another race tonight, doubleheader.
Yep.
So hopefully we can get a couple on the podium.
I know you'll want to get off and see that. So thanks for coming on the show, Zach.
Cheers.
I appreciate
Thanks
it
for
very
having
much. Lovely. Thanks, Zach. Wonderful things are happening down there at McLaren and for Zach, not just, of course, in Formula One. Right, let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship at the end of the Portuguese Grand Prix. It is Lewis Hamilton, of course, who leads the way on 69 points. Max Verstappen second on 61, with Lando third in the Drivers' Championship now on 37. That is huge. Valtteri Bottas fourth on 32, Charles Leclerc fifth on 28, then Sergio Perez on 22. Definitely needing to do more. Daniel Ricciardo is 7th for McLaren on 16, then Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon, and Pierre Gasly rounding out the top 10. In P11, it's Lance Stroll for Aston Martin, then it's Fernando Alonso, P12, picking up a decent brace of points today. Yuki Tsunoda 13th, then Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Vettel, Russell, Schumacher, Mazepin, and Latifi all 0. The Constructors' Championship sees Mercedes already past the 100-point mark after just 3 races. Red Bull Racing on 83, so it is close. McLaren Mercedes on 53, 11 points ahead of Ferrari on 42. Then it's Alpine on 13, AlphaTauri on 9, Aston Martin on 5, then Alfa Romeo, Williams and Haas. Danny, it's been a good weekend here in Portimao. It's been a lot of fun. What will you take out of this weekend?
I think it just confirms pretty much what we've been seeing so far. It's really tight between the 2 top teams, Red Bull and Mercedes. With I think, in my opinion, Red Bull looking slightly faster at the moment. But it's also going to be a question of development of the car through the year and how much the next year's regulations will play. And also the midfield is just very tight. And yes, it looks like a very interesting season so far.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate you coming on and also being so brilliant at interviewing people.
Thank you. I tried my best.
You can host the whole thing. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into the show. We really do appreciate it. From Danny, from me, from Sam back at home, from Lawrence Barretto in the pen, from David Alorca somewhere in the paddock, from all of our crew, both here in Portimao and at home, we thank you for tuning in. We will see you in Spain in 1 week's time for round 4 of this 2021 World Championship. Can Max Verstappen swing a punch back in this epic fight for the 2021 World Championship? Time will tell. For now, though, from all of us, we'll see you next time.